Dr. Idrin. So we will waiting for our another two presenter will be joining us. Okay, Assalamualaikum everyone. So we will proceed our session. So before we continue our session, okay, for Irma, Dr. Irma, she is misleading on the timing because she is from Indonesia. So she expect that 1:30, 2:30 in the Indonesia. So as misleading on the timing lah. Okay, so we waiting for her and then we proceed to our session. Puan Nur Azimah, macam mana kita boleh proceed ke macam mana? Ataupun Ida? Okay, kita proceed Okay, Assalamualaikum and great evening to all the audience and also all the presenter. Let's start our session with Surah Al-Fatihah. Al-Fatihah. Amin. First of all, I would like to welcome to all the audience and then all the, especially our presenter. So for today we have 4 presenter. So let me brief regarding a bit of presentation. So do you see my slide on the screen?
Yes.
Do you see? Okay.
Yes.
So first one, during the presentation session, please mute your mic and then you can type your question on the chat box. And at the end of the session, we will take a group photo. For the presentation, for the presenter, you have to mute the mic when you're not a presenter. Prepare the slide and must be on your camera. So for the timing, they have 10 minutes for presentation and 5 minutes for Q&A session. So on the during 10 minutes for presentation, our timekeeper, Miss Anida, will click on the raise hand to remaining 3 minutes before you end off your presentation. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the presenter. We have 4 presenter, which is the first one, myself, identifying the drivers of customer purchase intention on the private label brands in Malaysia. The second one is spinning side food habits changes during the COVID-19 movement control order by Rafazana Nadia Montas Ahmad. And then the third one is influences factors of consumer purchase intention, consumer consumption of instant noodle in the Malaysia by the Nur Alia Nazirah Samsudin. And the last one from Indonesia, Irma Rusanti, validation of fashion design, test for double track high school program using classical test theory. So as being a chairperson, Siti Khalijah and my co-chair is Miss Anida Ismail. So we will proceed to our first presenter. We'll introduce the Fazana Nadia, which research title Pinning Site Food Habit Changes During COVID-19 Movement Control Order. So I would like to calling Fazana to start your presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Siti Khadijah. Assalamualaikum to everyone. My name is Farzana Nadia. So let me share my slide. Okay, can you see my slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Assalamualaikum to all. Okay, my name is Farzana Nadia. Today I will be presenting on my study about Penangites food habit changes during COVID-19 movement control order. So this is the presentation outline for today, which includes background of the study, problem statement, research objective and questions, conceptual framework, significance of the study, literature review, methodology, findings and discussion, limitation and research suggestion, result and discussion, together with conclusion. Okay. So the world currently is facing what can be regarded as the worst pandemic outbreak, novel coronavirus. This is an outbreak that has not been previously found in human. So due to this pandemic outbreak, many countries are on coronavirus lockdown, which includes Malaysia. Malaysia is practicing movement control order MCO for 16 months now with different stages of MCO. These circumstances motivates researchers to investigate the effect of the lockdown on food habits as people were forced to adapt their daily habits, including food-related behavior, to the new situation. So this study aims to assess potential adjustment in food habit of Penangites of age 25 to 40 years old during the lockdown. So the age range was chosen because it is thought to be the deciding factor in one's eating habits, whether they live alone or with families. And also this research is hoped to shed light on the development of the food paradigm, giving an overview how Penangites food habit changes during the COVID-19 movement control order. So food habit decisions are based on one's food belief, which are affected by life events, personal and social factors. Given that food habits are made every day and typically in the same context, they are likely to result from a routine response and has been shown to be very stable in adulthood in particular. So during quarantine, people may switch from a healthy diet to unhealthy diet as a method to deal with stressful events. For instance, people might look for more comfort foods such as food that is rich in sugar, carbohydrates or fats. So the underpinning theory that has been used in this study is by Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory, which is a strong theory on human intentions and behavior with its primary point that the behavioral intention of people is a result of personal and environmental cognitive influence. During this trying time, significant changes can be seen in how Malaysians consume their food daily with the prohibition to dine outside and the strict rules in purchasing groceries. So the problem statement for this is that, for my study, is that all food services has been shifted to delivery or takeaway services only and causes huge alteration in the business and a way of consumption. So the pandemic spawned plenty of studies on various topics, primarily in the field of health and medicine, as well as economics. Changes in food-related behavior during the pandemic, on the other hand, are subject to fewer studies. So the goal of this paper in this context is to examine Penangites' food habit changes during the COVID-19 movement control order and what issues and opportunity this may present for Penangites' food system. So this research addresses two questions. First is to determine of personal factor influence food habit during movement control order. And second is to determine if the environmental factor influence food habit changes during movement control order. So the research objective and research question for this study are, for research objective is to determine if knowledge influence food habit during movement control order. Second is to determine if eating goals influence food habit during movement control order. Next is to determine if self-efficacy influence food habit during movement control order. Next, to determine if the social media effects influence food habit during movement control order. Next, to determine if sociology factor influence food habit during movement control order. And lastly, to determine if food accessibility influence food habit during movement control order. So for research question, first is, does knowledge influence food habit during MCO? Second, does eating goals influences food habit during MCO? Third is, does self-efficacy influence food habit during MCO? Next, does the social media effect influences food habit during MCO? Next, does sociology factor influence food habit during movement control order? And lastly, does food accessibility influence food habit during movement control order? This is my conceptual framework. Okay, so it is divided into personal factor and also environmental with 3 dimensions each. Okay, we will base on knowledge, eating goals, self-efficacy, and for environmental factor, the social media effect, sociological factor, and food accessibility towards food habit during movement control order. The significance of this study, okay, theoretically, this study aims to investigate how food habits are influenced by personal factors and environmental factors. And also, it is hopeful that this research may contribute to the hospitality industry understanding towards the changes that occurs during movement control order. For the practical approach, it is hoped that this research can be a wise guide for people on changing their food habit for a good cause and how it can help food service sectors to cater the changes in food habit in future. And also, this study will give more understanding on how the changes on food habit gone throughout the movement control order. So this is the literature review that have been used. So it is divided into food habit changes during movement control order, personal factor, knowledge, eating goals, self-efficacy, environmental factors, social media effect, sociological factor, and food accessibility. The methodology that I've been used in my study is that the population are residents of Pulau Pinang. Participants are Penangites aged between 25 to 40 years old with the sample size based on Craigie and Morgan. Okay, 384 respondents. So the data collection procedure are conducted through survey, which is through questionnaire. Okay, the instrumentation, I use Google Form platform with 5-point Likert scales, adopted items with bilingual survey. Okay, so the data will be processed by using statistic SPSS software, testing the normality using skewness and kurtosis, and run the data by using multiple linear regression. So these are the findings. So for the discussion, so first hypothesis is there is relationship between knowledge and food habit during movement control order. So quarantine might cause people to switch from a healthy to unhealthy lifestyle as a coping technique for stressful occurrences. So the disruption of the work routine caused by the quarantine causes boredom, and which is associated with a higher energy intake. So as a result, hypothesis 1 is supported, and it can be acknowledged that knowledge does influence food habit during MCO. Second hypothesis is there is relationship between eating goals and food habit during movement control order. During the movement control order, it totally depends on oneself to set the goal of eating habit, and perhaps the goal during this time was to comfort their emotions and hence opted for sugary and sweetened beverages. So according to a study by Ever and others in 2018, it is commonly recognized that negative emotions can contribute to overeating, sometimes known as emotional eating. Okay, so therefore hypothesis 2 is supported. Hypothesis 3, right? So for hypothesis 3, there is a relationship between self-efficacy and food habit during movement control order. So anxiety and stress have been shown to have affect behaviors and food choices, as well as starvation and satiety sensation. So another perspective on why it can be concluded that people are consuming less healthy food during this pandemic is might as well due to restriction of limited of movement. So therefore hypothesis 3 is not supported, as there is no significant relationship between self-efficacy and food habit during movement control order. Hypothesis 4, there is a relationship between social media effect and food habit during movement control order. So based on the results, according to the p-value, it suggests that there is no relationship between social media effect and food habit movement control order, because the restaurant industry's inability to serve clients as efficiently as it formerly did has led to an increase in the number of people preparing meals at home. So sometimes social media have the ability to market the extent of causing overspending for certain consumer, yet following the implementation of MCO, the household daily spending patterns have changed. So certain household, they are more concerned on consuming much more on the savvy parts, okay, because they need to put aside more on their savings, for example, for the basic essential items, purchasing essential food, paying utilities, purchasing medicine, and spending more on gasoline, which has been the priority during these hard times. Next hypothesis is there is a relationship between sociology factor and food habit during movement control order. So family and friends might have the ability to support for healthy eating, but everybody has never been in this situation. So some might not practice it. So therefore, hypothesis 5 is not supported. So lastly, hypothesis 6, there is a relationship between food accessibility and food habit during control order. So based on the p-values, it suggests that there is no significant relationship between food accessibility and food habit during MCO. So although it might seem that food deliveries are widely used during this pandemic, the results show in its insignificant relationship. This can be further discussed on the aspect of safeness, whether the restaurant are genuinely following the SOP, and also for the fear of people having a direct contact with the food delivery. So for limitation and recommendation, the limitation of this study is that the sample size was limited to 392 people due to time and financial constraint. And this study was conducted based on the data collected from Pulau Pinang residents only. For the recommendation, so this current study focused on the pandemic in terms of immediate, which are short-term effect. So future research is needed to understand the pandemic's medium and long-term effect on food habit and its changes. Therefore, again, this research objective is to examine the relationship between personal and environmental factor towards the changes in food habits during Penangites food habits of Penangites during MCO. So the data provided in this research have revealed that consumers have modified their food habits during because of the lifestyle during this shipment. So 4 elements that were significant was self-efficacy, social media effect, sociology factor, and food accessibility suggest that further research can be executed to untangle the relationship of such elements with changes in food habit. That is all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Fazana Nadia. So any question from the audience?
Miss
Any
Farzana,
question?
Assalamualaikum, Ms. Farzana. Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Okay, I have two questions. Okay, the first one is that I would like to have your justification on the sample as you only include 25 and above, if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
Yes. Uh,
So the question is that why don't you include 18 and above? Okay, if you have any reference or justification on that. And the second one is that you are adopting model by Bandura, right? So
yes.
if you can see that the Bandura model is a bi-directional relationship, meaning that from the cognitive to behavior and behavior to cognitive. So what is your justification only to have one direction? That's all.
Thank you very much for the question. Okay, so first I chose 25 to 40 years old because I considered they are the life decision maker, because 18 years old might be too young for them to decide what they want to eat and all, and probably they are staying with their families. And for 25 to 40 years old, they are the deciding factors in deciding whatever that they want to choose to eat, better improvement or eating bad food during these hard times. And for the social Bandura theory, I've chosen both the personal and also the environmental factor because it is very highly associated during these hard hard times. Sorry. So for the cognitive parts, okay, because I think it is more, because the Bandura's theory are very related with personal behavior, with human behavior and all, which are totally related with the cognitive punya cognitive behavior and all. And also due to this pandemic is the very unprecedented type of pandemic, we might as well want to know how do people think of coping their situation during these hard times, or whether they wanted to make it easier or make it hard for them.
All right. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, Dr. Fatima. You're welcome.
Okay, so I have one question to Fazana. How do you plan that this study can be used after this COVID situation?
I think it can be further developed in terms of healthy food, consumption of good food, avoiding comfort food too much and all, because we are living in this time that we want to strengthen our immunity system. So I think this research can be used for a further development in future for me, I think.
Okay, thank you, Fazana.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we will proceed to the next presenter. Okay, I will calling Nur Alia for the topic Malaysian influences factors of consumer purchase intention, consumer consumption of instant noodle in Malaysia. So Nur Alia, you can start when you are ready. Okay.
Can I have like 3 minutes to prepare?
Okay. Okay, thank you, Fazana.
Thank
Okay,
you
we
very
will take,
much. Thank you.
at the end of the session, we will take a group photo. Please join us.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. Can you guys see my slide?
Yes, Alia.
Okay, so um, I will start now. So my name is Nur Alana Zira Binti Shamsuddin, and my topic for today, consumer purchase intentions of instant noodles by consumer consumptions in Malaysia. Okay, so for the background of the study, for my research, is about the instant noodle itself. Okay, so what are the changes of the instant noodle? What are the changes of the consumer consumption in instant noodle itself? For me, I have identified in Vipasha and Guns in their research 2014, which is they stated changing in lifestyle and the lack of family eating pattern is one of the reasons which cause the increase of the instant noodle consumptions. Okay, so for in fact, instant noodle itself used as a convenience foods because the characteristic of instant noodle, which is simple, low cost, and fast cooking characteristics, as stated by OK in 2017. Besides, instant noodle also is a raw material that have high carbohydrate and proteins, where many consumers believe this can be a substitute for food such as rice. Okay, so the problem statement I have identified in this research, does factors of the products and packaging influence the consumer purchase intentions in Malaysia? Okay, so here for the research framework itself and the research objective and research questions. Okay, so for independent variable, I have two independent variables, which is products and packagings for the dependent variable itself, consumer purchase intentions. Okay, first for the research objective, I want to identify the relationship between products towards the consumer purchase intentions, and for the second objective, to identify the relationship between packaging towards consumer purchase intentions. Okay, so the framework itself. Okay, so the independent variable for first independent variable products. I have subdivides for the product in terms of their quality and taste, which I have adopt and adapt in Vitranti, Lailato, and Wildardo research in 2020. And for the packagings, I have divided it into the attractive and flexibles of instant noodles by Nagi in 2018. Okay, so for the independent variable, there are many research focus more on the consumer purchase intentions regarding their consumer behaviors and willingness to pay of the consumers. Same with in the research with Tranti, Layato, and Ricardo in 2020. So I have constructed in this research, the research hypothesis has constructed into two research hypotheses. For the first hypothesis, to the relationship between products toward consumer purchase intentions and the relationship between packaging towards the consumer purchase intentions. Okay, so for the literature review, for the consumer purchase intentions, it is identified where the urge of the consumer to purchase or repurchase goods for these goods, which is instant noodles, and also what are the factors that influence the consumer itself to purchase instant noodles, and how the individual attitudes influence the consumer itself to purchase instant noodles in the markets, and also how the demographic backgrounds of a certain consumers trying to purchase and repurchase the goods itself. Okay, so for the products, okay, for the product of instant noodle itself, how the consumer experience influence decision making process, which is where how for the instant noodle product or brands, how the consumer experience itself on these items influence their decision making in futures, and also is it sorry and also instant is it some of the instant noodle brands does effects of the effect of the consumer to purchase, and also the consumer preference and the customer knowledge about the products. For the packagings, it is identified that packagings can be categorized as salesmen on the shelf, where it may attract the consumer itself on the shelf beside have any other marketing for and the packagings of the instant noodle, customer satisfactions and the creativity in instant noodles packaging created by the marketer and the manufacturer itself. Okay, so for the methodology, this research designs was conducted using quantitative research, which is simple random samplings, and it is to broaden the knowledge of the consumer about the instant noodle itself in the futures, where the previous studies more focused on the lifestyle, product attributes, the consumer behavior, price, country of origins, and the packaging of instant noodles. It is the data of the consumer consume instant noodles referring to the WINA, which is World Instant Noodle Association. For the global market for instant noodle in Malaysia itself increased in 2017, 2018, and 2019. Okay, so it is the goals of the studies to identify what are the factors that influence the consumptions of instant noodle in Malaysia. Okay, for the populations in Malaysia in 2020, it is stated 32.7 million, which according to Cressy and Morgans in 1970, the sample size for the study is 384 respondents. Okay, so for the questionnaire designs for this study, we're using online survey through Google Form, which is submitted through the WhatsApps and Instagrams, and it is highlighted in the section B of the questionnaires. We're using 7-point Likert scales. Why am I using a 7-point? Because in my research, it is better using 7-point Likert scale rather than 5 points Likert scales. And this data collections also go through using the analyze versions using the latest analysis versions of IBM's SPSS 26. And I also in this research also have done through the pilot test, which is focusing on groups consists of 20 respondents to saving the times, money, and efforts for any ineffective questionnaires have been constructed. Okay, so for the variables, the needs to be highlighted here for the products, packaging, and consumer purchase intentions. Okay, so for the Chromba Alpha, and it is above than 0.5, and for the validity value itself, it is highly unacceptable. Okay, so for my data analysis and findings, okay, so for the total respondent has been collected 440 respondents using the period time given. It is also analyzed using the regression analysis and multiple linear regression analysis. Okay, so for the table analysis, I have consists of the correlations, model summary, ANOVA, and coefficients. Okay, so for Here are the data. There's a correlation between IV and DV and their significant value, which is for the R value for the product is 0.691 and the P value is less than 0.01 and also for the packaging 0.681 which is less than 0.01. Okay, so for the hypothesis testings, okay, first, there is a significant relationship between product and consumer purchase intentions, and also there is significance of the relationship between packaging and consumer purchase intentions. Okay, so for the p-value is equal to 0.04, which is lower than 0.05. Therefore, the hypothesis itself is accepted and has the similar results with the packagings, which is have the p-value is of equal to 0.00 and the hypothesis is also accepted. Okay, so for the contributions and finding in this study, it would like to contribute to the medical sector, marketers, academics, because for the medical sector, it can increase the awareness of the medical of the consumer who have the medical backgrounds, and for the marketer itself to increase their marketer strategies in future to promote their instant noodle brands, and for the academicians it can enhance the knowledge of consumers to in future in their studies. Okay, so for the significance of these research studies, may significance with the prevalence of fast food consumptions among undergraduates, evidence in Malaysia by Mutta Yusuf Akila et al. In 2020. It it is resulting the implications can gain the marketer sales value, and also the study also were conducted during pandemic COVID-19. Therefore, the questionnaire must be submitted only using the Google online survey, and the limitations and recommendation in the study, which is like the questionnaire is only received by people who only explore in social media, and for the recommendation in future, I would like to recommend to focus more on specific demographics such as gender, education level, income, and among consumer itself. Okay, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nur Alia, for the good presentation. So I will pass to the audience. Any question?
Can I ask a question? Okay. Ms. Pepperson, is it possible if I request right after the presentation, the presenter remain with the screen sharing so that it's easy for the jury or the audience to refer to the slide? Okay. Can you take a look at your methodology, Ms. Alia?
Okay, I will. Here.
Okay, correct. Can you explain how did you conduct the simple random sampling? How did you get the full list of the consumer?
Sorry?
How did you get the full list of the consumer? Because you conducted the simple random sampling, right, for your study?
Yeah.
Okay, how
Yes.
did you do that?
Okay, so according to my according to the study itself, I would like to highlight that I have the questionnaire divided into the section A, B, and C, where the section C, which is focusing more on the demographic of the consumer. So in this study, I will also have the questionnaires on more do you on the consumer itself, do you consume instant noodles, and the it is depending on them to answering where yes or no. So it may be random to other people who whether consume or do not consume the instant noodle itself. So it's in this questionnaire also, it does not specifics regarding to their age or genders. It's just simple random to asking whether the consumer itself consume the instant noodle.
Because my concern, I'm afraid that you are using the wrong method because now you are focusing on the consumer, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when we talk about the simple random sampling, it is a probability sampling. So meaning that you have a full list of the consumer and then you have to assign the sequential number, and then you have to use the random number generator. So that is how you can get the simple random sampling. So that is why I'm a bit confused whether is it a random sampling or convenient sampling.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm confusing. Well, for the questionnaire, uh, it has specifics about the gender, which is 18 years old and above. And for the consumers who age 18 years old and above may answer the questionnaire.
Right. Okay, my second question is, what do you mean by when you conducted the pilot test and then you had 20 respondents and then there's a focus group? What does it mean by focus group here? Are you doing focus group among the...
No, what do I mean by 20 respondents itself? For the pilot test, I want to have the minimums of 20 respondents to answering the questionnaires, which is focusing on a group of consumer rather than individually, so I can know how
Hello, Alia.
regarding their age in groups. Yeah.
It was
Hello?
lagging just
Yeah.
now.
It just stuck for a while. So you can continue to proceed, answer the question. Okay.
Okay. So for the it doesn't have focusing group. What I mean by focus group is the number of the respondents during my pilot test, which is 20 respondents, where I focus more on a group of these respondents rather than individually respondents.
Okay, because
Hello?
might use a like focus group. We are referring to like for qualitative method instead of quantitative. Yeah, right. That's all from me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
So Alia, we have one question from the check box from the Dr. Franklin. Do you measure intrinsic or extrinsic factors for packaging dimension?
Sorry? Do you measure? Um, can can I have more explanation about the intrinsics or the extrinsic factor?
Mr. Franklin, the tangible and or
Oh,
intangible.
okay, so for the tangible or the intangibles, okay. What I can say is about the is it whether yes, it is a tangible product because sorry, I'm confused about the question. Okay. Is it tangibles or intangibles? Okay, for the how do I measure is about the factor for the packaging designs dimensions, which is reference to other researchers where they mentions about the packaging itself and how the criteria of the and the characteristic of the packaging, whether how the marketer and the manufacturer designs the packagings of instant noodles can attract their consumers, which is the packaging of instant noodle is not tangible for me. Is it any
Yes.
explanations? For now, I don't have any extents by using the PLS, where I only using the SpaceX version only. I'm sorry, Miss Kirija, which one's question should I answer?
You answer the Noaimi Othman first, and then
Okay,
proceed to
I
Adrian.
conclude based on the findings. And there is
What do you conclude based on the finding?
okay, so what do I can conclude is okay for the relationship here for the products and packagings. Okay, so for during my studies, I can conclude in these independent variables where it has the relationship between the product packaging towards the consumer purchase intention itself, where uh, for us as a consumers in the markets, we can see that for the product and the packaging itself, one of the reasons why the consumer choose to referring while purchasing the instant noodles. So what would be, is it answering your question? Okay.
So the next question, the last question, Alia.
Sekejap, the second question ni.
So how about branding? The last question for you.
Okay, how about your branding? Okay, so, okay, for the branding itself, in my questionnaire, I have posted several
Alia?
Okay, sorry. My internet got stuck. Hello?
Alia?
Okay, sorry, I will repeat. Okay, so for the branding itself, it not specific to a certain type of branding, but in my question itself, I have posted several types of branding, but it is only for the reference for my questionnaire, because I do not want to have any what we call as a claim for some of the researcher. It may get a lawsuits if I put a specific types of instant noodle brands without their consents. Am I answering your question, Mr. Edry?
Okay, thank you, Alia. Thank you so much. We have time outs. So we will proceed to, but the brand does affect the buying behavior. So what,
Yes,
on your
I admit
opinion?
that the brand itself does affect the buying behavior, but for me, it will go deeper. It will go deeper into my research, which I will more focusing in the future.
Okay, thank you, Noalia. Okay, we will
Alright.
proceed to our next presenter. Our second last presenter, Madam Irma Rusanti, the validation of fashion design test for the double track high school program using classical test theory.
Yeah,
You will
thank
start
you.
whenever you are ready.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Irma Rusanti from Vocational Program Universitas Negeri Surabaya. My paper title is Validation of Fashion Design Test for Double Track High School Program using Classical Test Theory. Introduction, my paper, the Double Track High School Program is a program with the provision of high school students, including vocational students, in order to have competencies, one of which are fashion design competencies. Tests are needed to measure student cognitive ability. This study aims to obtain information on the validation of fashion design cognitive test item using the classical test theory. This paper among a few research that highlight the validation of fashion design tests for double track high school program in Indonesia. Moreover, this study uses classical test theory within to differ it from the other previous studies. The method, this quantitative descriptive study, uses a multiple choice test with 4 choice of 40 items participant responses were collected through Google Form for fashion design class of 2019 and 2018, totaling 122 respondents. The analysis technique using a classical test theory. The analysis technique uses the CUDA recursion. Furthermore, the calculation result will be interpreted again to the coefficient of value of R as follows. 1, if R 11 is equal to or greater than 0.1770, then the test result being tested for reliability have high reliability. 2, if R 11 is less than 0.70, then the test result that are being tested for reliability are declared not to have high reliability. To interpret the item difficult index, the classification is used, namely, 1, problem with P same 0.00 to 0.299 are difficult question. Problem with P same 0.300 to 0.699 are medium question. 3, problem with P same 0.700 to 1.000 are easy question. Questions that are considered good are questions that are in the medium category, namely questions that have a difficulty index of 0.300 to 0.699. The result, item number test, on the table we can see there are 6 competency measures on the test instrument, namely 1, communication science, 2, excellent service, 3, design, 4, textile, 5, construction pattern, and 6, sewing technique. With the number of distribution for cognitive ability in each competency is 8% except design. Except design is 24% because consists of the competency about element and principle of design. And then we can see the table. Based on the table above, the lowest level of problem difficulty is 0.0410 and the highest is 0.9836. If the value range is 0 to 0.299, it means that the question is very difficult. Namely, on item number test is 7, 14, 15, 18, 7, 14, 15, 18, 19, 23, 13, 39, 38, and 39. For the value range of 0.7 to 1, the difficulty level of the easy question is on the item test number 1, 4, 6, 8, 9, 13, 17, 20, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 34, 35, 36. While the test is the range 0.3 to 0.699, meaning that the question are medium. KR20 result is indicated that the coefficient of the item is 0.5729, meaning that the test result being tested for reliability are declared to have moderate reliability. And then we can see the table for the communication studies. The questions are relatively easy to moderate. And then excellent service. The item test is difficulty starting from relatively low, sufficient, and high. And design, the distribution of the level of difficulty is evenly distributed, starting for relatively low, medium to high. For test style, the item test difficulty level spread from the relatively low, medium to high, meaning that the difficulty level of the question spread from the relatively easy to high. For the construction pattern, we can see the test low to medium difficulty level mean the question are relatively easy to moderate. For showing technique, the item test, very difficulty level of the question is evenly distributed from low, medium to high. This means that the level of difficulty of question is evenly distributed from relatively easy to difficult. Conclusion, the analysis technique with the strata program was analyzed using classical test theory based on the analysis of the cognitive validation test of fashion design competency double track high school program. Result obtained the validation of the test use classical test theory with the test reliability coefficient of 0.5729 for the number of the test as many as 40 questions, meaning the question item has moderate reliability. Thank you. That is my paper. Thank you and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Madam Irma. So I open to the audience. Any question? Any question from the audience?
Actually, I am fashion design, but this is fashion food. Okay, it's no problem.
You focus on the fashion design.
Yes.
And what types of fashion design? Focus on Muslimah?
This is actually in high school there are not vocational. This is I'm sorry, my English so very bad ya. Jadi maybe can I explain bahasa?
Yes.
I'm sorry ya. Yeah, I'm sorry. Jadi penelitian ini di SMA high school. Jadi tidak di vocational tapi high school. Di high school itu ada bidang yang mempelajari keterampilan begitu, ada keterampilannya. But in validasi ini saya mengambil sampelnya adalah mahasiswa fashion design. Begitu.
Okay, we have a question from the Adrian Roslyn. Hi, Madam Irma. Thank you for the presentation. Have this paper been presented or published previously? Dah dipublish atau belum?
Dipublish. I don't understand what you mean.
Adakah paper ini dah dibentangkan ataupun dah dipublish sebelum ini?
Belum pernah. Hanya di ini IJCHT ini.
Okay, so any question?
Yes, Ms. Chairperson, I think that we don't have any international participant here, right? So I think that I can ask questions in Malay. So Ms. Irma, saya berminat untuk tahu lebih lanjut tentang classical test theory. Jadi dalam konteks kajian design ni, apakah lagi teori yang selalu digunakan? Satu, dan mungkin Ms. Irma boleh terangkan mengapa Ms. Irma memilih classical test theory untuk kajian Ms. Irma?
Okay, thank you. Jadi why I choose classical theory because saya menggunakan multiple choice untuk penyusunan soal itu menggunakan multiple choice. Jadi yang paling relevan adalah menggunakan classical test theory ini, begitu. Ya, mungkin itu.
Adakah macam classical test theory ni memang commonly applied, selalu diaplikasi dalam kajian design?
No, tidak
tidak.
selalu ya. Kebetulan saja ini karena multiple choice dan sangat relatif cocok begitu ketika saya aplikasikan pada tes saya, sehingga saya menggunakan ini classical test theory gitu.
Oke, terima kasih.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any question for the audience? So thank you, Madam Irma.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we will proceed to our last presenter, which is myself. Okay, a little bit nervous because I'm the last one. Okay, I will proceed to our topic. Okay, have you seen my slide?
Yes.
Okay, my research topic is identifying the drivers of customer purchase intention of private label brands in the Malaysian. So on the Malaysian, we have the private label brands owns, which is, for example, Giant, Eon, Tesco. This is the example of private label brands. So on the contents, this is the list of the content is which the first one is introduction, second one is literature review, research methodology, finding, discussion, contribution, and the last one limitation and recommendation for the further study. So for the introduction, private label is definition of private label from Jaafar, Lib and Nabar 2012 stated that store products, own products, retailer products, and distributor owns product. This is definition of private label. So on the private label is adopted the lower pricing policy to suit the changes of the shopping habits among the Malaysian. So the Malaysian are facing drastic economic pressure, and also Malaysian have started to change their shopping habits and be more price sensitive. This is from the website the Global Consumer Insight 2020. So what the purpose of the study? The changing of the consumer trends and economic condition have affected evaluation for the private label brands, especially on the groceries and daily products. See, this is
Miss Siti, I think
yes?
that the slide is not moving.
It's not moving?
I see the first slide. I'm not really sure whether other audience see the same screen.
Do you see on the introduction or on the content?
Cover page.
Oh, cover page.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I will start again. Okay, do you see my slide?
Hold on, yeah, it's presenting. It's now on the cover page. The first one. Yep. You can see the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Are you?
Yes, I'm click the next slide.
No, it's still
Not move.
the first page. Yeah.
I will share the screen. Okay. Do you see my slide?
Okay, now we see the introduction.
Okay, introduction. So, proceed the purpose of these studies. The changes of the consumer trends and economic condition have affected the evolution for the private label brands, especially on the grocery and daily basic product. And then nowadays, the consumer intend to purchase the product that have the low price and perceived quality instead of choosing the established brand. This is claimed by the Sarkar, Sharma and Kalro 2016. So when we're looking into the price and perceived quality on this study, I focusing on the relationship between the perceived quality and price consciousness with the consumer purchase intention. So the next one, this is a research framework hypothesis. Independent variable have the perceived quality, price consciousness from the Chin and Sadiq 2007, and then Jaffa, Lim and Naba 2012. On the on the independent variable, they have a consumer purchase intention, Growell et al. 1998 and Jaffa, Lim and Naba 2012. So this is the when under my objective, we're looking into the direct relationship between this type of independent variable to the consumer purchase intention. So the literature review the relationship between consumer perception and customer purchase decision. On the below of the customer perception, they have two dimensions, which is the perceived quality and the price. So on the perceived quality is the one of the most vital atau important criteria that affect the customer purchase intention of the private label products. Therefore, is properly lowers the price consciousness will reduce the customer purchase intention. This stated by Seng Huang 2003. The customer normally do not want to purchase the private label brands even though the price is lower because the customer perception of the quality product is lower than the national brand. And then the last one, the researcher mentioned that in the study that when the perceived quality is low, the price consciousness will increase and the purchase intention of private label products are also will increase. So on this literature review is showing that they have relationship between consumer perception and customer purchase decision. So this is a research methodology, research design using the causal relationship, looking for the relationship. For the data collection, primary data, online survey questionnaire to 398 respondents. And then the sampling plan, the element is on the customer, on the private label product. Units focusing on the consumer that purchase private label product, and then the techniques using the convenient sampling. So the questionnaire have been testing using the pilot tested with 34 respondents, and then the data analysis using the SPSS Vision 2026. And then the objective for this study, we're focusing on the reliability and then the linear regression. So this is the finding on the respondent demographic profile. This is descriptive. They have showing that they have gender, male and female. So on the female, they have 56.8% answer this question, following to age, marital status, and income range. So, and the next is hypothesis testing. They have two hypothesis testing. For one is perceived quality has a significant relationship with the customer purchase intention of private label in domination. And then the second one is price consciousness as significant relationship with the customer purchase intention of private label in Malaysia. So we're looking into the hypothesis testing. It's showing that perceived quality have more strength relationship compared to price consciousness. So it's showing that regression correlation is 0.743. And then for the price consciousness is 5.94. So on the p-value, it's showing is lower than 0.005. Okay, so it's showing that hypothesis for the research framework have accepted. Okay, so for the contribution, the academic perspective, they have two contribution in terms of academic perspective and term of practical perspective. On the academic perspectives, it contribute to the body of knowledge, which is to identify the summary interest of customer purchase in the customer perception that accentuate the private label product in Malaysia. And for the practical perspective, is contribute to the manufacturer, retailer and others food service management. So it's help in creating and increase the awareness amongst customer in Malaysia about the private label food product for their shopping lifestyle. So the limitation and recommendation, the method of conducting the research have been effect to the result gain. So in the recommendation for the further research, maybe we can focus on the specific demographic factors in terms of gender, in terms of ethnicity, income range among the customer. Or you can compare between private label product with the national brand in the Malaysian. And one more thing, you can add the packaging. In terms of packaging, you can looking into the brand label product. They have their own packaging and then they put their own brand on the in front of the packaging. So that's all for me. Thank you. So any question for the audience? So and then my co-chair, Miss Anida.
I do not have any question. Maybe doctor will pose a question to Miss Khadijah.
Okay, Miss Khadijah.
Yes.
Like on the private label brands in Malaysia, okay, based on your LR, okay, do you think that in the previous literature, the consumers in Malaysia are concerned on the price for the private label brands in Malaysia? Is it different or similar with the international label brands? On the price concern, on the price concern.
On the price concern.
Mm-mm.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, I just want to ask, based on your LR, okay, throughout your study, do you know whether the price concern is similar or different, okay, from the consumer perspective, okay, between the private label brands in Malaysia as compared to the international brand?
Yes, they have a different because on the international private label product, they are concerned of on the price itself. So on the Malaysian, they focus on the perceived quality. Maybe on the customer perception in the Malaysian, they're looking into the our brand private label product. They're thinking that they have the low quality, maybe, and then that's why they have the strongest relationship between the customer purchase intention. So that's my answer.
Is there any study in any previous study that explore on the mentality of the consumers towards the local brand?
A local brand.
Uh-huh.
Which mean?
Meaning that like some consumers, they have like a mindset that okay, it's a local brand, so like even though that the quality is good, but they perceive that it is not good even though that they have yet to try the brand.
Okay, kalau kita tengok, I answer with Malay. When we looking to the private label product, kita pergi Tesco, kita pergi Aeon, kita akan nampak brand private label ni dia akan letak seiring dengan brand-brand yang established. Macam sebagai contoh, kalau makanan lah, we focus on the fries. You know, fries ni dia ada, dia akan pack tu dia akan ikut similar dengan a few brands. Okay, and then jadi dari situ bila orang nak beli sendiri pun dia akan tengok macam Tesco brand. Dan mungkin dia tak nak ambil sebab in term of quality sendiri. Lalu kalau kita sendirilah, mungkin kalau kita pergi Tesco ke Aeon ke, kita ada sikit perception on the quality atau in term of that brand. Kita lebih suka dengan established brand because kita yakin dari segi mungkin taste dia ke, produk dia ke.
Okay, alright, that's all from me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So any question from the audience? So Ms. Aida, can we proceed to the end of the session?
as for me, I think this session has gone smoothly, and we do not have any presenter after this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, Madam Chairperson, would you like to close this session? And right now, can we have a photo session? And I would like to request everyone to, if it's available, for you to switch on your cameras. I know sometimes we can have problems with our cameras, but if it is available, can we have you switch it on so that we can have a photo session? I think perhaps these are those who would like to turn their cameras on. Okay, so on three, yeah? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Miss Khadija, you're also taking a photo, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just to be on the safe side, because oh, okay. We have a question. You have one question from
Adrian Rosley.
Adrian Rosley, yes.
Yes. It's based on the consumer budget. Yes. So on the further study, maybe we can focus on the customer demographic. So we can focus on the budget of income itself. I hope it answer your question. Okay, so I think thank you so much for everyone, audience, and especially for the presenter. Congratulations completing your presentation. So before we end our session, I would like to say sorry anything happened in this session. Of course, the witnesses from our side, and hopefully we can see on the next event, inshallah. So thank you so much everyone. Take care, stay safe, and Assalamualaikum.
Thank you so much to your organizer.
Thank you, Dr. Fatima. Thank you, presenters.
Thank you, Dr. Fatima.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay.
Miss Irma. Miss Irma, can I have a request just now? I took a shot of your slide, tapi tidak direkam tadi masa Miss Irma buat presentation. Saya nak mohon Miss Irma naikkan balik slide sekali lagi boleh tak, supaya macam saya boleh rakam, boleh ambil gambar sekali lagi.
Boleh.
Mungkin di awalnya, okey. Oh, sana sudah azan ya, Miss Irma?
Ya, sudah.
Oh, sudah masuk.
Jadi apa yang berlaku, Madam? Apa yang Madam ingat 1.5 dekat 2.5 dekat sana. Maksudnya dia punya timing lah.
Ya, satu jam ya. Beza berapa? Satu
jam.
1 jam.
Betul lah. 1 jam.
Oke.
Ya. Thank you, Madam.
Baik.
Jadi memang ini paper ini pernah saya publish tapi masih abstrak submit gitu ya, submit abstrak, tapi saya tidak continue karena
jurnal lah.
Jadi
tak publish.
Tidak, Jadi hanya abstraknya saja, terus setelah itu tidak saya lanjutkan. baru di sini saya publish begitu. Ya. Oke.
Baik.
Ya, oke.
Okey ya, terima kasih.
Ya, sama-sama.
Keep in touch, Madam Irma.
Ya, Assalamualaikum.
Nur Azimah. So macam mana Miss kita boleh end kita punya session ni?
Mr. Adrin Mr. Adrin?
Adrin, Roslyn.
Ah,
Line dia kot. Tadi dia
mungkin
kata
line dia kuat. Oh, boleh answer.
Okay, thank you Azimah. Thank you Miss.
You welcome. Saya memang banyak ni je mendiamkan diri. Alhamdulillah semua dah okey.
Thank you. Okay, thank you Miss. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.